Hello, I'm here. How is everyone doing? Uh, so yeah, I'm alone. I don't know if anyone's going, but it's me. Um, yeah. Uh, Man, I will tell you a secret. I have I've not finished mapping today yet. Oh man. And I'll okay. So the stream is at 3 p.m. my time, right? I finished mapping yesterday at noon. So I finished mapping yesterday, 3 hours ago, and I have not done today yet. But yeah, we have yesterday to talk about. Obviously, I've read the news today. Like I'm up to date on the written part, but it's the geolocating of videos that I'm not up to date on. Uh, so yeah, yeah. So I guess I'll get started. Um, this is another one of those videos where I mostly have bad news, but there is some good news, right? There's an ambush that we have been waiting for. We've talked about it on this stream multiple times, probably a dozen times by now. We all knew it was coming. We just didn't know when. It probably should have happened the day that they fired attackums, but they didn't for some reason. That would have been the day to do it, but it didn't happen then. It happened today. There was an ambush of airplanes. We don't actually know how. We don't actually know how this ambush happened, do we? Um, there's conspiracy theories. There's the popular conspiracy theory that it was F-16. I don't think so, but I mean, if you're gonna if you're gonna have a conspiracy theory, it may as well be an F-16, right? Of course, the moment this happened today, the Russians had their own conspiracy theories. They stated the I mean, I saw some of the most insane conspiracy theories I've ever seen. So I'll show you where on the map roughly this happened. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off my tooltips just to make it. Okay, so this happened around here-ish. Here-ish, okay? The exact location doesn't really matter, to be honest, but happened here-ish. Um, of course, the first thing I saw when I woke up this morning was that I woke up pretty late. This will tell you how late I woke up. The first thing I woke up today, the first thing I saw when I woke up was this story that a Ukrainian MiG 29 flew all the way to here to hunt Russian airplanes and that it had been shot down. So that was the Russian story. Okay. Not like the official, but that was the story going around. That was funny. And then there's the another version of the events that of course people point to the Patriot battery. Did the Patriot battery go south? Maybe. Um, what other options? There is another option. A Frankensam. Was there a Frankensam? Ah, maybe there was. Maybe there was another. Maybe there was another launcher. Maybe it was an Iris T. Maybe it was a Samp T. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. It'll be interesting if we ever find out what it was. My guess is a Patriot, but or a Franken. I don't know. I don't really know. My guess is a Patriot, but I don't know. But it doesn't really matter. What matters is that three Su-34s were shot down, and the pilots are in various states of alive, and that's what matters. So obviously, Russia has been bombing this whole area along Kherson for months. We talked about it. They've been, I mean, there was like in October they dropped what, or September or whatever. They dropped like 1,000 bombs. Like that's a lot of bombs, right? And just here, like not even counting everywhere else. It's just right here. They dropped like 1,000, right? So, and then there was, they've been bombing Krinky, they're bombing this entire town. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you how many bombs there were. Okay. Um, let's hit the Krinky. Where am I? You ever get lost sometimes? Okay, so we'll just look at a few weeks worth, okay? Because my computer gets very sad the further back in time we go. So these are just airstrikes. You know, they've been dropping airstrikes. Their little airplanes have been running around doing all sorts of airstrikes. Just look at them all. There are lots and lots of airstrikes. So many. This is from the end of October. You have to keep in mind that in October their bombing rate dropped significantly. So this is after it dropped significantly. This is how many airstrikes they've done. Before then they did even more. Like we can go even further back in time. See, we'll go back into like September when they were dropping even more bombs. Okay, they've been dropping bombs. This is too far back in time. That was back when I labeled things wrong. Okay, so that's labeled wrong too. Let's fix it. But they've been dropping so many bombs. It's incredible. Finally, Ukraine's done something about it. Finally. It's been way too long. Been way too long. But they finally did something. Um, Probably whatever Ukraine did today, they could have done months ago, probably. Unless it was an F-16, which I don't think so. But I mean, if it were, obviously they couldn't do that months ago. But everything else, if it were, if this were a Patriot, they could have moved a Patriot up. If it were a SAMP-T, they could have moved a SAMP-T. If it were an IRIS-T, they could have moved an IRIS-T. Frank and Sam, maybe not, but they could have moved a Patriot. They could have done this a long time ago. And probably the smartest time for Ukraine to have done this would have been the day they fired the ATACMS. Because that day, Russia went wild with airstrikes. You see, usually Russians fly two planes together. These planes they used to be able to carry two bombs, but then they moved to four. Like right now, they carry four, and soon they're going to go to six. Because you'd keep in mind that they're carrying glide kits, so that the glide kit takes up space. So you have to like figure out how to stuff more bombs in there with the glide kits. If there weren't glide kits, they could carry a lot more bombs. But these are with glide kits, so they carry four bombs now, and they typically fly in groups of two. The day that Ukraine fired the ATACMS at those helicopters, Russia wasn't going in groups of two. They were going in groups of four. And they were flying multiple groups of four simultaneously. It was one of the most crazy bombing days. because Russia was just very upset. They said, you broke our helicopters, we're gonna bomb you now. Okay, I think that would have been the day to move up a Patriot. You probably could have shot down a lot of planes in this sort of ambush, but they didn't do it then for some reason. They did it today. Yeah, those well, it depends on who you talk to. How the Russian pilots felt. Depends on who you talk to. The Russian pilots that you see writing on the internet, like Fighter Bomber, for example, and but he's not the only one. There's others too. They all constantly talk about how dangerous their mission is. They've been saying that they could get shot down any day. They've been saying that the entire time. They've been telling everyone to stop acting like their missions are safe. That's what the pilots have been saying. Well, not the pilots directly. It's like the representative of the pilots. So maybe the pilots didn't feel safe. Maybe they did. I don't know. I obviously can't talk for them, but um, the people who represent those pilots, they were constantly saying how unsafe these missions were. So I don't think they're surprised at all. And if you look at the Russian response to this today, they've basically been saying it was interesting because they were comparing everything to the United States and Israel. Um, Very explicitly, just those two countries. And they said if the United States or Israel were doing this, the first thing they would do is destroy all of the air defense and cripple the air defense to a level that we could safely do our missions. That is what they're calling for now, is the destruction of air defense. Now, obviously, Russia has been trying to do that the entire time. they've shot Kinjals at Patriot batteries. They've blown up air defenses with Lancets and Iskanders and other weapons like that. So they've been doing their best to take out these air defenses. And in some cases, they have taken out air defenses successfully. They've taken out command vehicles. They've taken out probably a few launchers. They've taken out radars. So they have been trying. It's just that it's easier said than done to shoot down or to destroy these air defenses because they are spread out. Even if you have a successful raid on an air defense, you they're spread out in a manner that you can't destroy the whole system of one raid. You have to at least hit a bunch of different places to take it out. So because everything is so spread out. So yeah, it's easier said than done to take out the air defense. Um, and if Ukraine is willing to do these ambush raids on the Russian pilots and to do it regularly to force Russia to change their behavior, this could be a new chapter of the war. Maybe. I don't know. I can't predict the future. But it's just an interesting day. So I guess now I'll read some comments. uh yeah. So today was in this sense it was a happy day. In other senses, it's still just as depressing as always. Oh no, what have I done? I keep doing that. Okay, so let me uh let me reopen all the things I just closed by accident. Okay, where did I put everything? This one. Okay, I think that's no. There's one more. That. Okay, we're back. All right. So we could get into other news, I guess. Ooh. Um. So there's one piece of there's just one thing that I'd like to to briefly touch on. I haven't mapped today yet, so I can't show you the mapping aspect of this. But there are some things that I'd like to point out. There have been a lot of civilians wounded recently by unexploded ordnance. Um, there have been a number of civilians who have lost their hands. There have been civilians who have been killed, and there are civilians who have been critically wounded by these unexploded ordnance. Now, these, at least the instances that I'm talking about, were not mines. These were all, I think, shells and or something similar. Maybe booby traps, something like that. Not mines. So they weren't like driving and hit a mine or something. So this is different. But these are instances of civilians. Um, yeah. So the yesterday the Armtrack 400, which is a demining vehicle that Ukraine got, I think by United 24 or whatever. But it was demining an area around power lines, and it hit a mine as it's supposed to because it's a demining vehicle, and the mine exploded as you'd expect, and it damaged the vehicle. Now this isn't like the damage isn't significant, and the story isn't to say like it's not like it's not painting a bad thing. Okay, like it's not saying like, oh my god, the vehicle's exploded. No, it's just saying that the vehicle was doing its job, and part of its job is blowing up explosives, and sometimes the explosives damage the vehicle. So what they have to do now is I don't know what it's called. It's like a thrasher or whatever. They have to take that off and put a new one on. And I'm sure they have spare parts and stuff to do that with. But there are other stories similar to this. In Kherson, there was a 54-year-old man who found an explosive in his backyard, and he tried to dispose of it, and it exploded, which is not great. I believe another similar instance happened today in Kherson, and there have been other similar instances happening all over Ukraine. And I just want to bring your attention to this. Um, I have all the details in a little spreadsheet. At some point, I might share that spreadsheet, but I haven't yet. Um, I basically have a spreadsheet of all the shellings and airstrikes and mine explosions on civilians, all those things. This spreadsheet dates back to not that long. Um, I do have all the data not in a spreadsheet as well. I have it dating all the way back to like July of last year, in uh, like Word documents, and I have a spreadsheet dating back not actually that far. When is this? It goes to um, October 13th. But the spreadsheet that's just from October 13th has um, 2,291 instances of civilians being shelled, bombed, or hit by a mine. And that's a lot in such a short period of time. Because it's not even 2 months. Well, it is 2 months. It's like 2 months in a week. uh, anyways, it's a very short period of time. It's actually really depressing to compile it every day. But so anyway, that's just one story I want to talk about briefly, and now I'll get to the news. Well, there's some questions. Will you you're asking will Ukraine have a sustained push in Krinky? No. Krinky is under an enormous assault. I guess we could talk about that first. They're under an enormous assault. It's not obvious whether Ukraine can even hold Krinky. Um, Krinky is doing, I mean, on a military level, this is going great. They are chewing through Russian resources like nobody's business. Like it's wild how many resources Ukraine is eating in this attack. Yesterday, Ukraine really badly damaged, if not destroyed, this BTR 82A. This BTR, I think they abandoned it after it got hit in the engine. This one got damaged. Well, this one and that one are the same one. So this BTR was kind of driving like this, and it got hit here, and then it kind of ditched over here, and then got hit again. And it may have been destroyed. And then there's this BTR 82A, which I am not sure what happened to it, but it did get damaged. This one and this one, maybe they might be the same ones. It's really hard to tell. So, but that was just one video. But um, the amount of damage that Ukraine has managed to do here, we're talking over 100 vehicles damaged and destroyed. Um, it's incredible. But you have to keep in mind that Ukraine is suffering really high casualties. There's a video came out today in one of the private channels that I follow. It was published by a medic who is in one of these brigades, and the video just shows um, like an hour worth of wounded evacuations, like a so it's like an hour worth of evacuations, and there are so many injuries, so many amputations. These injuries are really bad injuries, like um, missing body parts, large parts like that. I don't want to get into too much detail, but it's really bad. Ukraine is suffering pretty substantial casualties here. I don't know the numbers, but they're not small, and you have to wonder, is it worth it in the long run? Thus far, I really don't know how to judge it because I don't have the numbers, but and I don't have the Russian numbers either, other than to say Russians are also suffering extremely bad casualties, along with their absolutely enormous number of vehicle losses. It's incredible how many vehicles they've lost. But it's not obvious whether this is sustainable or whether it is sustainable, like whether it can be sustained at all. And that's one question. And then the other question is, if it is sustainable, should it be sustained? So those are two separate questions, and I don't know the answer to either of them. But it's not obvious that either are true. We could see Ukraine withdraw. But but yeah, that's kind of the cranky situation. There was this interesting video that came out yesterday by Madier, so we can watch this one. This is a this is video of a Russian drone. So this is a Russian drone, and it is flying towards Ukraine, or towards the Ukrainian position on the other side of the Dnipro, basically. So, and it got hit by some electronic warfare, and it just slowly fell out of the sky. So that was electronic warfare right here. So it was flying in kind of this direction across the Dnipro. So that's kind of the cranky area. That's kind of all I have to say about it. There's been a lot of pretty heavy shelling right here. These are all I think they said they were Uragons, but I'm not sure. And there's also an airstrike. Anyways, so I guess we'll get to Rabatina. We'll just go in the opposite direction this time. Is there evidence that they've progressed southeast of Rabatina? No, I've not seen any evidence. I've seen people claiming that they took these positions, but I've seen no evidence of it. And the people making the claims are typically wrong about almost literally everything, so I would take it with a grain of salt. I mean, it is possible Russia has captured this position before, but then Ukraine counterattacked, and you could argue that Ukraine actually captured these positions, but I never saw proof of that either. We just know that Russia was kicked out. Um, but yeah, I've not seen any actual proof of Russian advance here, and I do follow the um, the battalion that is here, and that battalion hasn't posted anything. Um, Yesterday there was this footage posted by um, well, it was actually posted by multiple channels. So the first channel that I saw was a Russian tank channel where they post their tank footage. So they showed this shelling. So this is tank shelling. They shot all these little places. Within this video, which was super interesting to me, within the video, you saw this drone attack. So this drone attack and this tank video were simultaneous, which is super interesting to me. Um, this drone was flown by Bober. Now, Bober is one of Russia's most infamous drone battalions. I don't actually know what they are. I assume they're a battalion. I don't know, but they're one of Russia's most infamous drone groups. Probably a top three for them. I would say probably third, but a top three group altogether. So they attacked right here and right there with their little Bober drones, and the Russian tanks fired in these three spots. So what was interesting about this is that recently we had footage of Russia capturing that position. And now we have this footage of Russia shooting here. And both of these Bober tends to release footage pretty quickly. Like they don't like wait 2 weeks to post a video typically. They just post it. And this tank group, they also just post stuff. I don't think they really post old stuff. And they happen simultaneously because you could see the Bober drone in the tank video. So it was just all very weird to me. You could argue Ukraine actually controls this position, but I'm not sure they do. So I just made it a little gray area. It's all very confusing to me. It's all very confusing. Um, this whole area is confusing. Yeah, that's kind of the Rabatina news that I have. Rabatina is getting hit by airstrikes pretty regularly. Um, uh, there have been a lot of airstrikes in Novoandriivka, in that city that I can't remember the name of, Orikhiv, Malotokmachka. So all these areas are getting hit by airstrikes. There's also been a lot of reports by the police of MRLs. Typically, the MRLs are fired out in these fields because they fire the MRLs. I don't really understand what the purpose of the MRLs is, but they tend to just shoot them. Like if you look at like the satellite imagery, you can see where the MRLs are landing, and they all tend to land like in these fields along the routes that Ukraine uses to resupply. Like it's like all the roads that the Ukrainian vehicles drive across. Now these are not actually, we're using kind of roads in air quotes here. They're not like paved. There's, you know what I mean. They're like just paths that they use basically. And they tend to shoot MRLs here, which is Ukraine's kind of defense south of Malotokmachka, and they tend to shoot MRLs over here, which is the kind of roads that supply the front, and they tend to shoot MRLs around here, which is obviously Ukraine's defensive positions. Um, I haven't explicitly asked John what system he thinks. Uh, no, I haven't. I could, but I haven't. I'm sure he'll tell me eventually what he thinks. Um, I assume it's either Patriot or a Frank and Sam. I think one or the other. Anyways, so there's also been a lot of reports by the national police of both drone attacks and MRL shelling south of Pule. So this whole area, I don't actually know where. There's these markers are kind of ambiguous, or just kind of like random, but they're shelling in this general area. Yeah, and also reports of them doing drone attacks south of Chervona, and yeah, in this whole kind of area. So that's kind of like the main news of this kind of front, is that it's lots of reports of drone attacks and airstrikes in Novodarivka. All the drone footage that we see is in this kind of forest. And the airstrikes that we see are either along this road, in this forest, or like here, or sometimes we're here. But they tend to shoot airstrikes in like this little like area. But anyway, that's that. Moving on over. I have no particular news of the Volodar or whatever. There was this interesting drone attack yesterday, and there's another drone attack that I hadn't mapped yet, but Ukraine destroyed a somewhat interesting vehicle that is over here. I can't remember what the vehicle is called. It is I have it written down somewhere. A REM KL, that's what it's called. I believe it is. Actually, I don't even know what the vehicle is. It's like, here, I'll find it. I'll get a photo. I think it's a command vehicle. It can also be an artillery tractor. It can also be a repair and recovery vehicle. But I think this was in the command vehicle configuration or an artillery. It was kind of in an artillery tractor configuration, except it wasn't towing any artillery. So, um, I'm getting an image. Just getting it slowly. So it's one of these things. Except the one they attacked looked a little different. Yeah, I could probably even show the video. It's not like bloody or anything. Let me find it. See, this is the little truck. Um, so this truck can be a command and control vehicle. It can be a recovery and repair vehicle, or it can be an artillery tractor. It can do and probably a whole bunch of other things too. It kind of looks like a command and control thing to me. I don't know. You see the dudes just hopped out and it's like idling backwards now. And then Ukraine sent in a second drone, but that occurred on this little stretch of road right here. So that was interesting. Interesting to see. The vehicle you don't see every day. Anyway, so I'll move on to Novomykhailivka. So this town here, I've talked about the significance of this town. I'm not going to get into it again, but I'll just talk about what Russia's done, basically. So over the past few months, Russia did a giant air campaign on this town where they dropped I'd say between 4 and 10 bombs a day, if not more, every single day for like months. Um, yeah, if I go to my other map where I can look at the history, you can see how many bombs there were. So this will we'll look at like September. So let's get September. Um, my computer is very unhappy. So this is September. Uh, Keep in mind that not all of these are one bomb. Some of these are two bombs. Some of these are four bombs. So this is just kind of a month's worth of bombing, and this town Peroskovivka, anyway, I can't say it. Anyway, so uh, they did a bombing campaign on this town, and they basically wiped it off the face of the earth. This town is more or less demolished at this point. And then this is the first week of October, and the second week of October, and the third week of October. Okay, so just so many bombs, so many bombs. So what they've done is they've effectively bombed this city or this town into oblivion, and in doing so, like the whole point of it was to destroy all of the military infrastructure that Ukraine had built in the town to make it very difficult to defend. They bombed it, they erased it, and keep in mind that it was getting shelled the entire time too. So it wasn't just the bombs, but obviously the bombs are probably doing a lot more damage. So they bombed this town, and then after they bombed it for about 2 months, they started this campaign in the south where they took all this ground over the course of multiple assaults over many weeks. So I believe the first assault was September 20th. Yeah, I think the first assault was September 20th. The second major assault was September 25th, and then they just kept assaulting after that. Okay, so now they've gotten to here where they've pushed all the way up. So they started down here, they pushed all the way up. Um, they entered and captured part of this little kind of industrial-ish area or whatever. I don't know what to call it. So they captured part of this, and then they're kicked out. They captured this, and then they're kicked out. They captured this, and then they're kicked out, and then they may have captured it again. I'm not sure. So that's kind of what's been going on in the south. Um, Now they've been moving on to the kind of bomb this kind of northern part. Now, if you remember when we were looking at the bombs here, most of the bombs were in the middle of the town, and now they're kind of bombing kind of to the north. They've also done some bombing along these forest strips, and uh, Ukraine was keeping some artillery here, and there's various strongholds, etc. So it just seems to me that Russia is pushing their airstrikes and their artillery further out of the town in an effort to cut it off, basically. If you look at the artillery strikes that we've been seeing recently, they're mostly focused here. Um, Yesterday, they had this their little FPV MTLB, which is fun. A little FPV MTLB action. You don't see those every day. They also had this assault in the snow, where they decided to dress in their Sunday best, which is all black, and charge through a snowy field, which is always great camouflage. And yeah, so this town is under a lot of stress. Now, we've talked before, I think the last stream or the stream before that, that it's possible that Ukraine can defend this town. It's possible. I think it's unlikely, but it would require them. I said at the time it would require them counterattacking successfully, which they have done, They kicked Russia out of this little farm industrial thing. They kicked Russia out of here. They kicked Russia out of here, although Russia may have re-entered it. I'm not sure. This is a cemetery, I believe. So um, so that they've successfully counterattacked. They've successfully blunted the Russian advance on the southeast and the east. So if they can continue, if they can stabilize this front, it is possible that Ukraine can hold this town for much longer. It's possible because this northern and northeastern side is very well defended, and this northern side is very well defended. So if they can stabilize this kind of southern part, we could, in theory, have this whole region stabilized. You might, if Russia can't figure out how to break through this eastern side, we might start seeing them try to move around the town. I don't know how well that will work for them, and we also might see them try to penetrate through kind of this section, which is easier said than done. This is very well defended. Yeah, Ukraine does have drones that can act as relays for FPV drones. They absolutely have that. They've been using it for a while. Yeah, it can work. You can have your big drone be encrypted. It can be smarter. Um, it can have its own AI pilots, its own behaviors on what to do it gets if it loses signal, what to do if it gets into electronic warfare. You can have your big drone be smarter and more expensive, then have your cheaper drones use the big drone and its secure communications as a relay. Now, I don't know if you've seen this, but it's no secret that the Baba Yagas they use um, Starlink to communicate. Russia has shot down and taken those drones, and they come with a Starlink on top. So anyway, that's the Novomykolivka area. Um, Marinka, we have no news from Marinka. It's more or less died down. From what I've heard, Russia isn't really attacking here so much anymore. They've moved their focus south. I don't have any information about Krasnohorivka. Um, Pervomaiska, we talked about this last time, I think, that Russia had advanced here, but there's been no change since then. Oh boy, my computer is very upset. It's very ever since I opened the huge number of airstrikes, my computer is so sad. Oh, that software it uses so much RAM, and I have a lot of RAM on my computer. I just want to tell you, I have a lot of RAM, and that app just uses all of it. Anyway, um, so yeah, I have no particular news from the southern part of Avdiivka. I have no real news from the northern part of Avdiivka. We had this rumor that was complete nonsense that Russia had captured Stepova wrong. Stepova is about 50-50. We've had a lot of videos recently of just piles of Russians throughout these forest strips here. We've also had a whole bunch of, I guess they might not be recent, but I mapped them just this morning of Russian losses all along here. By losses, I mean vehicles. There's BTR 82As mostly. So they've lost a whole bunch of vehicles here. We've seen them lose a whole bunch of like tanks here, and obviously they've lost just enormous amounts of vehicles over here, and especially here. So they've just lost so many, and they've still not taken a single town, which is amazing. Um, North of Stepova, we see these Russian advances towards Novobakhmutivka. They're not super important, I don't think. I don't think this is really a change in threat as much as it's just a notable event. They're still not at this stronghold. Obviously, you don't like them getting closer to their stronghold, but they're not there yet. So it's not super important at the moment. It's nothing is critical. And yeah, then we get up to Kleshivka and then Andreevka. There are the rumors that Ukraine has advanced near Andreevka. There are these videos of the Russian drone attacks on Ukrainian soldiers, which are trivial to geolocate, but much harder to locate in time. We I have no idea when these videos occurred. I don't think they're new. I really don't think these videos are new, but they could be. If they are new, it's actually quite interesting, but I just don't think they are. Um, we had a video from the Ukrainian 26th Brigade shelling a Russian, what they described as a Russian strong point right here, which was interesting because prior to that video, we thought that this was a Ukrainian position, but the 26th Brigade is shelling it. That's not a good sign, but also not super important. And other than that, we have no changes around Kleshivka. We have no changes around Ivanivska. We do have this massive change near Bodanivka. So basically, okay, so we have this video. The whole video is quite interesting. I wish I could play it, but I definitely can't. But I do encourage you to watch this. Obviously, it's published by the Russian MOD. Always a dubious source, but I mean, what can you say? So this video begins with Russia shelling right here along this forest line, which is still in definitely 100% in Ukrainian control. Then they hit this tree line with FPV drones, and then they apparently assaulted the tree line. Now, I say apparently assaulted because it's really hard to prove that they actually assaulted that tree line. But separately, I have heard that they have more or less captured this tree line. Some people are claiming that it is a gray area. Others are claiming that it's Russian controlled. Others are claiming that it's a gray area, but Russia will capture it soon. So either way, I've not heard anyone even suggest that this is in Ukrainian control anymore. So Russia has pushed Ukraine out of this tree line. They've pushed them south towards this one. They've been moving up this road. They've captured this little thingy. I don't even know what that is, but it's like a little box thing where you store water, I guess. And yeah, that this whole area is Russia is moving on up. Unfortunately, I was hoping Ukraine would be able to defend one of these defensive lines. I'm hoping that there is a defensive line that they can defend at some point. But we're getting pretty close to the next town. There is this nice little forest here that you could work with. Maybe that's their goal. Maybe they just want to fall back to this forest. I don't know. But there's the forest here. There's a forest there. Um, once you get back here, the terrain starts to suit Ukraine a lot better. Out here, it's more even, I think. And even is not good for Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't want even anything because when the terrain is even, it's going to favor Russia. You want to see the height map? Um, this map, I don't regularly update this map with territorial gains, so you're gonna have to use your imagination. But this is what the terrain looks like. So Russia is kind of moving down this hill here. You can see that it kind of dips down into a bowl, and they've been moving along kind of the crest of it. They've gotten to about here. They captured this little uh, water thing. I don't know. I don't know what those are called. They captured this earlier in the week on like Monday, and now they've moved up to like here. They've been moving through this. They've pretty much captured this forest strip. This is the forest strip they're now shelling. Um, so yeah, this is kind of the terrain here. This is Bodanivka. It is the low ground. Yeah. So as you kind of move on up, uh, this is the strip that is currently in Ukrainian control. But if you look backwards from here, you see that there's a big old forest to your right. There's a big old forest to your left. Though that forest is kind of on low ground, but it's still there. And I don't know. I don't know, man. This is the area. Yeah, this is you can see that this is kind of a bowl. It all kind of goes down into this reservoir. Um, I can't remember if this reservoir still exists or not, to be honest. I'm that one doesn't. I can't remember if this one does. And this is this here is the race car thing that we were talking about. And then this over here, uh, where is it? Where are you? Where am I? There's another one. Oh, this one. This here is, I think this is a motorcycle racetrack. I think this one's motorcycle, like a motocross. You can see that it overlooks Bakhmut. The Ukrainian snipers had fun there. And then there's this car one here. This car one um, is and this bulb. Anyways, that's kind of that. That's the 3D. I hope you enjoyed it. Um, Moving on up. I have no news about any of these other areas. We have this Russian assault here, which was pretty interesting, to be honest, in how badly it went. Um, I still haven't fully counted all the vehicles here, but from what I saw, I think, if I remember right, there were one, two, three, four, five, like 5 or 6 BMP2s, a T90M. I think there was a T72 B3M. Yeah, I think that was about all the vehicles I remember off the top of my head. So it was like a whole bunch of BMPs and a few tanks that they lost all right here. Uh, the videos are I can't even describe them because even the description of them isn't good for YouTube. In this, just in this still image, you can see this is a BMP. The thing on fire is a BMP. I think that's a BMP. I think that's a BMP. I think this is the T72 B3M. That's a BMP, I think. And then I think like over here, like to the right, I think there's a T90M. There's a whole bunch of vehicles here, and they're all surrounded by infantry. The infantry don't really know what to do. They're very confused, and they're being attacked by drones. There was an incident in this in in this attack that is a bit infamous. Oh, not infamous. It's funny. I mean, it's funny in a horrible way. I don't know. You can watch the video and see what I mean. I can't even describe it to you. But anyway, that's here. They're trying to move north towards Sperna, basically, or towards Ivano-Darivka or Vyimka. They're just trying to get through these defensives that they have so much trouble getting through. And they haven't made much progress, to be honest. So yeah, that's kind of that. There's we finally got confirmation of what we've seen lots of rumor about recently that We've had lots of rumor that Russia had captured these positions, and we finally got the video. We have the video of the little Russians. All these white dots are all Russians. Some of them, like, it's weird because like you have to think of it. This is a thermal camera, and you imagine that the camera was looking like this, and then it suddenly went like that. It just jerked a little bit. So all these like smudges are people. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like all these smudges are people. And then shortly thereafter, this happened, where all of these dots are DPICM. So they replaced the people with the CIPM. Okay, so anyways, so Russia did all their little things. They got hit by artilleries and all the things. So anyway, but this is the first actual evidence that Russia attacked these positions, and we're almost certain they captured them. But it's the first actual evidence that Russia did this, which is interesting. Yeah, the cluster munition does a lot of work in that video. It does a lot of work. Anyway, that was a one map change. This is not a leopard. Let me fix that because I did fix this. I just forgot to push the map update. Let's see. Push the map update because I did fix this already. Let's see if I didn't fix it. Okay. All right, I'll fix it later. But this isn't a Leopard 2A6. It was a oh man, I can't pronounce that word. It's a Swedish tank. It's a Swedish boy. But it was abandoned there, and there was another one abandoned. Well, destroyed. I think the other one. No, it was abandoned. So I think one was abandoned here. I can't remember where the other one was. Oh, it's here. But one was abandoned here. That's going to be on the map when I update it later today. One was abandoned there, and there was a third one destroyed. So basically, it seems that Ukraine lost 3 Swedish tanks in the past like day, which isn't great. Yeah, the Stridsvagen, whatever. I can't pronounce Swedish words. I'm sorry. It's a leopard. Can we just call the leopard Swedish leopard? It's a leopard 2A5, right? The leopard 2A5, but Swedish. That all happened right here. I can show you where the 'cause I've already geolocated the where the other tanks, well, at least where one other tank is. Let me find that geolocation in my spreadsheet. So it engaged here. So it drove there and was shooting, and then it drove here and was abandoned. That's what happened. Sad. What was it damaged by? I can't remember. FPV drone. So it just looks like a leopard to me, guys. It's just a leopard 2A5. Anyways, so there's one more area to talk about, real briefly, because nothing's changed. Is Sinkivka. Russia has they captured this little forest at great cost. I don't know if you've guys seen it, but today the full video of this assault came out. And there was a point in this assault where a Russian he 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 jumped off of his BMP, right? He jumped off the BMP and he tried to walk away, but he couldn't. And then the BMP started driving and he started getting yanked, you know? And he tried to walk away, but he couldn't. So he just got dragged. He got dragged by the BMP. And it just kept dragging him until his clothing tore. And then he was without clothing. So you can look forward to that. If you watch the video, you can see that happen. Yes, there's another point where there's this the assault here. It bothers me because if you watch the video, I mean, you don't even need to watch the video. You can watch the clips that already came out. But there's no artillery. Like Ukraine doesn't fire any artillery, right? Like they fire like a handful of shells. There's like no artillery. They've a few javelins and stuff, but pretty much everything is hand to hand combat. They were in hand to hand combat with tanks. They were in hand to hand combat with infantry. Everything is hand to hand, and Ukraine won. They won the hand to hand combat. But man, it's a dangerous to fight a tank in hand to hand combat. Like, like what is going on? Oh, speaking of which, there was an event that happened. I can't remember what day that was. Let me find the day. Yeah, there was there's a video that people asked me. Um, okay, so I marked this tank as destroyed by infantry shenanigans. And people ask me, what does an infantry shenanigan mean? This is what it means to me, okay? So you can see, well maybe you can't see. It's hard to see. Sometimes it's hard to see. But we will see in a moment what happens. Um, you see, I will pause. You see, this is a tank, right? There's the turret, there's the gun, this is the hull. This is a dude who is running. And what is he running from? We'll see in a second. And he has a friend. There's two dudes. The tank explodes. Uh these are not tank crewmen. Okay, they're not tank crewmen. So what I meant by infantry shenanigans is that basically, from what I can tell, two Ukrainian soldiers walked up to an abandoned tank and they fiddled with it, and the tank exploded. So I don't know exactly how. Maybe they threw a grenade into the turret. I don't know. Anyways, what else was there? Oh, there's a video that I'd like to show you today. It's from today, or I don't know when it's from, but here we go. Oh boy. So uh so yeah. I think the video more or less speaks for itself. So there's that. Uh, yeah, that's not good. That's not good. That's not good. So this is a this is a crab. This is a crab. You can see that this crab has a bit of barrel missing. Um, its hydraulics are missing, and if you look at this, um, there's a hint of smoke coming from the hull. And this hint of smoke is then sprayed with a fire extinguisher, which is not a good sign. So that's a crab. That it makes. I don't know what happened to this crab. So the thing is that I don't know if this is a usage thing. Like I don't. This doesn't really fit the pattern of a barrel failing. Typically, it looks different when a barrel fails from overuse or from a stress fracture or whatever. So what this could be is external damage to the crab, and what could cause damage? Well, a lancet maybe. Yeah. So I don't know anything about this other than this video. There is also a photograph, which is even more sad looking because in the photograph, I'll get the photo for you. I can show you the photo. This is the photo. Um, yeah, the photo is even more sad looking because I don't think it has tracks, and it's on like wood. It's all very sad. It's all very sad. Uh, it's just not a happy crab. Okay, so there's one more video I'd like to show you. Okay, this uh this is a mortar. Um, so something goes. So this is not good for the mortar. Okay, so the this is a 120 millimeter mortar, I believe, and it doesn't fire right. See, to me, this is terrifying. Right? That's terrifying. But yikes, just yikes. Anyways, that's kind of all the news I wanted to talk about. There's obviously the strike on Kyiv. They hit the city with shaheds. Um, there were strikes on Odessa. Oh, there's one thing that's actually super interesting. Earlier today, um, the Ukrainian, who were they? Can't remember who they were. Sorry, I can't remember who they were though. Yes, the crab is Polish-ish. It's Polish-ish. It's not entirely Polish. The crab, I believe, is a South Korean design, and the Polish bought it from the South Koreans with a license to manufacture their own crabs. But if I remember correctly, I think the crabs given to Ukraine were from South Korea. Thank you, Dimitri. But anyways, the thing I wanted to say is that um, this area of Ochakiv and well, anyway, this whole coastal area here across from Kinburn, so the Kinburn Peninsula. This is the Kinburn Peninsula, and this is Kinburn Spit right here. Just this is the Spit, and this is the peninsula. But across from this peninsula, right over here, Russia has very, very dramatically ramped up their use of drone attacks. They've been hitting this whole area with drones really, really hard. And I just find that interesting. Uh, so yeah, that's all the news I got. That's it. Well, there are some other things I'd like to talk about, but I just don't know. I don't feel comfortable talking about them by myself. For example, the Russian economy had a bunch of interesting numbers come out, but I don't really want to talk about that by myself. And then there is the the presidential hopeful in Russia of I don't even remember her name. What's her name? What's her name? Denitseb or whatever. I can't remember her name. Dabutsev? Dabutsev? I can't remember. Anyways, she is running an anti-war campaign. She's running for president of Russia against Putin on the platform, on an anti-war platform. On the day that she announced her candidacy, she she announced it in like a hotel or whatever. It was like a convention center, like as you do, like as a normal person would, like and suspiciously, right before she started announcing her candidacy, the power went out in the entire building, and nobody could figure out why. So her supporters took out their cell phones and they turned on their cell phone lights, the light up the room, and then they turned on a power generator. So they showed up prepared. Um, don't Sova, that's her name. Don't Sova. Anyway, she's an interesting character. I don't really know enough about her to talk about her by myself. Like it would be interesting to me to get an expert on Russian politics or something to talk about her because she's a fascinating character. She The whole thing is really interesting. Um, the amount of support that she's gotten in Russia is interesting. Obviously, she has no chance of winning. I mean, that's goes without saying, like you know, obviously, but it's just all very interesting for anti-war platform. She is basically saying that she wants to end the war, move away from their kind of fascist government towards a more democratic government that invests in the people, invests in long-term stability of the country, etc. Like all the things that like a normal rational person would want. But yeah, I would love to have someone, an expert on that, come and talk about that. I'd like to have an expert come and talk about the economic situation in Russia, the end of year stuff. The end of December is always an interesting time for the Russian budget. Last year, they spent an enormous amount of money at the end of December, like it's just a stupid amount. This year, they spent a ton of money in January, saying that they wanted to avoid spending it all in December again. But yeah, it's just all very, very. There's a ton of other interesting topics that we could talk about, but I can't talk about right now, but are worth bringing up. No, she is not irrelevant. I can tell you right now that she is not irrelevant. She is massively relevant. Yes, I'm like I don't even know how you can be like more relevant. A very important political figure right now. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the stream. This might be the last stream of the year. Maybe I don't know. Yeah, it might be the last stream of the year because I don't think I'm gonna do one next Tuesday, and maybe I'll do one next Friday, but I don't think I'm gonna do one next Tuesday. So this might be this could be the last stream of the year. I might be back in January. Who knows? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a happy few days, the rest of the year, and thank you all for coming and listening and subscribing. And if you like the content, you can share it with people if you'd like to, or you can give it a little thumbs up. The thumbs up do a lot of more good than you might think they do. It is really helpful to give the little thumbs up. But thank you all for coming.